living in a cave in Waziristan. And as a result of the administration's disclosures, billions of dollars were allocated, territorial incursions were forced onto Pakistan while their civilians were bombed, all in the hunt of al-Qaeda's leaders, who are today living in Iran. Fact is, bin Laden doesn't live in Waziristan. He doesn't have a home there. He doesn't have a post office box there. He is a guest of the Iranian government.
When Alan and his group first approached me, I was really intrigued by the idea that maybe we could do a good job and help the U.S. government locate Osama bin Laden. I think the most intriguing thing about the information that Alan's source provided was the ability to electronically triangulate Osama bin Laden's location. Each of Osama bin Laden's Falcons were equipped with a little backpack that had a radio transmitter. And they broadcast on a unique frequency so that Osama bin Laden could always track his birds down and retrieve them. Well, these unique frequencies had a range of some 10 miles in cluttered area and over 100 miles in line of sight. So my thought was it should have been a very simple thing to establish a listening post outside the Iranian border, but capable of sweeping this area, looking for those frequencies during the falcon hunting season, and then triangulate where those frequencies are coming about, and that would give you the true location of Osama bin Laden within, say, a square mile.
In 2005, after we had received some very credible and corroborative intelligence based on the sighting of bin Laden in Iran in November of 2004, we had processed a lot of information intelligence to the FBI and to the Pentagon and to Secretary Rumsfeld and his assistant secretaries, undersecretaries. We had looked for some follow-up by our military and by our intelligence people to validate or invalidate the information we received. I had just returned from Israel, from the Middle East, and went to the Pentagon when I got back, and then reinforced with the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations the intel that we had on bin Laden. Nothing happened. My attorney works in the intelligence community. He had a frank discussion, and he was told, yes, we know bin Laden's in Iran. It's a trade secret, leave him alone. Then 2 of those CIA officials told my attorney, if your team goes into Iran, as they are planning, to catch bin Laden and deliver him to the United States, we will leak your activities to the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. And when you are in the desert chasing bin Laden, a helicopter will appear on the horizon and it will take you to Iranian prison. They will do our dirty work for us, so leave him alone.
I spent a lot of time debriefing Iranian defectors, people who have worked for various Iranian intelligence organizations, and for whatever reason, they thought they were about to be killed, their families were in jeopardy, they decide to leave, and they come out with something. They generally come out with documents, with information, things that they think that they can use to provide for their family in the future. Now, one of these defectors came to me in early 2003, and I cite his information in my book, Countdown to Crisis. And he told me of meetings that took place in Iran before the September 11th attacks between Ayman Zawahiri, number 2 of al-Qaeda, and the Iranian leadership, and between Saad bin Laden, the son of Osama, and the Iranian leadership. These meetings took place in January of 2001 and in May of 2001. And he provided this information to the CIA in July of 2001, but they were not interested and they blew him away. It's one of the reasons why the CIA has been reluctant to talk about what they knew before the 9/11 attacks about al-Qaeda involvement with Iran, because in fact they knew a lot.
I sent a very detailed memo on July 13th to General Hayden saying this is what we've found out.
We have our information from a source that hunted with bin Laden In November 2004, he spent time with him. Bin Laden travels inside Iran with an entourage of only 4 persons during the falconry hunting season.
Allen and his team have a plausible eyewitness who actually spent time with Osama bin Laden and asserts that he can repeat this, that he can actually get himself back into Osama bin Laden's camp at will.
The source learned the frequencies of the telemetry transmitters on each of bin Laden's falcons. Bin Laden uses the same 3 frequencies while he's hunting.
Now, at the very least, one would think that the CIA would want to meet this guy. At this point, this is my 3rd attempt, and so I sent the letter out certified mail. Now, CIA doesn't sign certified receipts, but we had proof that it was mailed. And per instructions, I put a certain notice on the outside of the envelope, and a friend of a friend in General Hayden's office made sure that it was on the top of General Hayden's inbox. Well, another copy went to the head of the National Clandestine Service. Another copy went to NSA. You can say, maybe one of these got lost in bureaucracy, but not all of them.
There was another 8 months of silence. So I raised the funding and took a team in to the mountains of Afghanistan, Tajikistan, so that we could find T2 and interview him for a first-hand account. It took a month to organize this interview with T2. T2 made tremendous concessions and made a huge risk to grant this interview. In exchange for that, we had to concede to protecting his identity. T2 arrived wearing a balaclava, gloves, and sunglasses. He insisted that his voice be scrambled and took every precaution to protect not only himself, but his village.
I understand you were hunting falcons a few years ago, and you had an encounter with an interesting person. Could you tell us about what happened that day?
I was going through Iran, and I met him in eastern Iran near Baluchistan. We saw a tent at dinner time and decided to greet the hunters. That's how we met. At first, I thought he just looks like Osama bin Laden, very polite, but then I realized it was him. This was in November 2004, around the 20th.
Did you go for a hunt with him?
Of course, I was with him for 3 whole days.
Was it successful?
Absolutely wonderful hunt, with a lot of adrenaline and pleasure.
What were you hunting, hubara?
Ubara, it's a bird, half a meter high. It was cooked in an interesting manner in the earth, very tasty.
How many falcons would they have had to hunt with?
He has 5 falcons. They're always with him.
During the interview, which took about 55 minutes, it was an extremely warm environment, and T2 was, of course, had a balaclava on, which made it very uncomfortable for him, even with that extra added stress to the interview. And I think he was certainly concerned about being there for his own safety. He really didn't show any signs of body language deception or in his voice that I could detect.
The building was surrounded by his people, and all the while that we were talking to him, his phone kept ringing, and if he didn't push the off button each time, our place would have been stormed. Right after 9/11, there was a $25 million reward offered for the capture of bin Laden. And in 2007, the reward was doubled to $50 million, plus civilian groups Airline Pilots Association offered